We are HTLA Radio 1. You will lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. We will add your distinctiveness, your advertisers, and your sponsors to our own. Resistance is futile.
HTLA Radio 1 in New York City presents CRASHTalk.
Thank you. Thank you. Calm down. It's all right. It's just Reservoir Dogs. Good afternoon, Crash Talkers. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it may be to you. You are tuned in to HTLA Radio 1 and my show, Crash Talk. I am your host, Chris Crash Jesus Taylor. And I'm bringing it to you every week with more of this fun and happy stuff here that we're going to be talking about today. Today's show, actually, aside from being a hugely controversial show, lots of people up in arms about this. Oh, yes. It is also
powered by Procast.
Yes, we are. We are powered by Procast, and you can get more information on Procast whenever the hell they put the website up. Yeah, but Oh, wait a minute. I've actually got that. Oh, yeah. So, today, gang, this is a pretty big show for me because this show is actually a culmination of literally a couple of hundred emails I have gotten since starting the show specifically about this topic and this particular company. And through the wading through the emails, one of them that came through to me and kind of just cried out, there's something that has to be said or done about this, was this one that I just got yesterday, actually, from Ed Vickers from Shikshinny, PA. And he writes about his experiences, and they're pretty poignant and hitting home pretty hard. So I've got some of your emails today that I'll be reading from as well in regards to these complaints, and then I've done some research. I've been looking around to see just what I can find on the issue, and wow, man. I think my show is going to have record numbers today just because of the subject matter. There is no end of complaints about the Pennsylvania American Water Company, or PAW, as I like to call them. Yeah. So, just finish that cigarette there. I guess without further ado, we should get into it. Basically, how the show is going to go today is I'm going to get into some of the complaints and a little bit of discussion around those. We'll go for a commercial break. We'll come back and we'll look at some of the things that have been done to slap this company in the face and carry on with our day. And we'll just kind of open it up to a free-for-all at the end, I guess. If any of you are out there and want to call in, you know the number. If any of you want to email in, got it on standby. And, of course, Twitter, as always. Give me a follow at CRASHTalkin'. Okay, big breath. This is going to be a big one. Okay, so let's go back to the email that really kind of stood out to me from everything. And then so many more of your emails, checking into them, finding more and more of the same stories over and over again, and finding new and as yet improved scams for the public out there from this lovely company, which actually spans the entire country, I might add. American Water being the master of the domain company. They're everywhere. So it doesn't matter whether you're in California, Texas, or Seattle listening to my voice, this affects you. Yes, it does. And the complaints are the same nationally. So there you go. So anyway, we're going to go to Ed's email here. He wrote to me. He says, I moved into my home at the end of September of 2001. The previous owner, I'll just call him Al, has removed his mother's name from the utilities on roughly September 18th. During the second week of October 2001, the water meter reader came over and said they had no name on the bill. So he says, I gave them our name and told them we'd moved in at the end of September. And he says, I get my water bill in December, and it's $483. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? He says he called the Pennsylvania American Water Company and told them that he could not possibly have used 88,000 gallons of water, which was also printed on his bill for this $483. They said there had to be some sort of mistake and that they would send someone out to check the meter. So they come out to check it and see that we have no swimming pool. We had not power washed the house. We had not even washed the car. We didn't even have a garden hose yet because it was fall. He tells me we will see what you use in the next few months here and base the bill on that, because he said they would not expect us to pay a $500 water bill, that there had to be some sort of mistake. Well, he says nobody ever came out, and I keep getting my water bill, with us using an average of 7,000 gallons a month, with the added $483 from the first bill, which never left the bill. He says then he receives a shut-off notice. So he called them. They told him that, quote, you are responsible for the water usage. I told him that 88,000 gallons was a year's worth or more of water for this household. And then the American Water employee tells him that the meter read that they used 81,000 gallons. Oh, here's a new number. And in just 1 week, he says that's 11,000 gallons per day. I told him that's simply not possible. The American Water dude says, and I kid you not, it's quoted here, prove to us you didn't use it. Ed apparently told him that for that much water to leave the house, you would have to open a main line. He says, my guess is this. A previous owner, Al Bach, did not pay his mother's water bill in full when he took her name off the bills. She had a balance, and the Pennsylvania American Water Company is trying to transfer that balance onto us. I have filed a complaint with the PUC. Oh, you'll like this. Yes, because I kind of have a special consolation prize for the PUC in all of this lovely show today. So, yeah, stay tuned for the PUC. He said, I filed a complaint with the PUC in September. It will be nearly a year, and this is still not resolved. Pennsylvania American Water Company is corruptive and dishonest. They tell you, we don't expect you to pay this ridiculous bill. There has to be an error. But then they go back on their word and say, prove to us you didn't use it. Even though they know full well it would be impossible to use 81, 88, or any other number thousands of gallons of water in a week. And if they're covering all for the previous owner and trying to transfer the balance onto us, they are readying themselves for a lawsuit. Well, you know what, Ed? Yes, they are, and rightfully so. Kate and I, we actually have a house in the Poconos as well, to our digs in the city, but we use Pennsylvania American Water up there. And one thing I can tell you about that, and we're going to go into this in our next complaint from Karen Dabowski, actually, because she mentions the same thing that we've experienced, and that is that normally when the house is sitting idle, when we're in the city and not there, normally, there's next to no water usage. It's pretty much non-existent. But we still get kind of this bill that's sort of I don't know, what is it? I guess it's a maintenance bill. It's always about $80 a month. And then, of course, when we go up there, in the wintertime or in, summering or what have you, when we're actually occupying the place, then, of course, what we find is that it goes up to about $120. And this is, what we've charted over the last 2.5 years. But there's been weird times with the water company where we won't be there, and we'll expect our usual $80, maintenance fee, I guess you'd call it, because we're certainly not consuming anything when we're not there. And what we've noticed is that we've noticed these mysterious increases of $60 and $80 on top of what we normally owe. Now keep in mind, this is a house that's sitting empty, okay? I mean, yeah, we got our furniture and everything in there, but we're not physically there. There's nobody actually using the water, and the bills keep changing. How do they keep changing, you might ask? Well, we're going to explore that too. So let's go now to Karen's email here. She says to me, Crash, do you have a dripping faucet? Did you know that a faucet leaks 60 drops per minute, and that can actually add up to 192 gallons a month? What about a toilet that runs constantly? What about a hot water heater that had been leaking under the basement floor for 2 years? Well, that was me, she says, last year. Each month it crept up a bit. $60, then $80. Oh, there it is. Then the Whopper bill, which came in November. This was the night I decided the running toilet had to be fixed. I managed to break the whole flush mechanism, turned off the water to the toilet, and since that time I've resorted to bucket flushes. I don't know really what that is. I mean, I understand the principle of a bucket flush, but how do you get rid of the solid waste, Karen? Anyway, moving on, she says it's proven to be marvelously economical. Then in December, she says, my long-term leak from the hot water heater in the basement became a tank break on Christmas Eve, of course. So she replaced it. Now I have a dry basement, she says. No more leakage. Now, with all that as background, she says, how about a water bill back in November and before these changes that totaled $106 for 1 month for one person who works outside the home 5 days a week? Well, that does seem a little odd, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Little high there, I'm thinking. She goes on and continues, after bucket flushes and a new hot water tank, my bills began to drop, dramatically in fact. And most are now under $20 a month. Damn! You go, girl. She says, so what happened? Why am I complaining? Doesn't the story have a happy ending? Am I not leaving a more reasonable and smaller carbon footprint on this planet? Yes, you are. Of course not, she says. Starting in March 2009, she received a notice from the water utility company, Pennsylvania American Water Company. We are required, quote, to change water meters every 20 years. Oh! Please call our customer service center within the next 5 days. She says that made no sense to me, unless, aha! My dramatic cutback in usage had led them to believe that someone had tampered with my meter or that it wasn't functioning properly. She says in common terms, they weren't getting exorbitant payola anymore, and I believe my account was flagged. I have never heard of a 20-year rule in regard to water meter replacement, and no, I never called them. Well, then we fast forward to the first week of May. She gets a second notice in the mail, saying, today, a final notice demanding I call their office within 5 days. Quote, if you do not respond to this request within 5 days, we will be forced to take action and discontinue your service, end quote. She says, I ask you, does this sound kosher? I have just this evening filed a complaint through their customer service department online. I also filed a complaint with the Pennsylvania Public Utilities Commission. Yes, there's the PUC rearing its ugly head again. Reiterating all I've said above. My bills have always been paid on time. There were no, quote, alarms raised, end quote, when my usage went up. No flags raised there. Only when her usage dropped like a stone, and with it, their revenue from this account. She says, please, Crash, if anyone in particular, anyone from Pennsylvania with Pennsylvania American Water Company as their provider, and you've received these notices after a huge drop in consumption as well, please email me at the email given under the profile for Blogger, yada, yada, yada. Like to see how widespread the problem might be. To my mind, it's downright criminal to threaten to turn off water on a fully paid account simply because the customer does not want or need to take time off from work to allow a perfectly functional meter to be swapped out. It's outrageous, she says. I'd like to get a class action lawsuit going if possible. So any of you folks out there looking to be having the same problem here, feel free to email me up, crash@htla973.com, and I'll make sure it gets forwarded on to her and her attorneys. She also says at the bottom of the email here, she just had another thought, and it's all about the cost of the new